Jason, as we are entering into your junior year of college, you've taken public speaking with me. When you were signing up to take public speaking, tell me a little bit about what were the thoughts in your mind, just in terms of even registering for this course?
Looking on the internet for somewhat easy classes to take, public speaking was one that came up for me. And I just thought that public speaking would be a skill that just with enough practice, anybody could learn. And you would just be able to somewhat dive right into it without much effort, just practice a lot, and it'd be an easy A, just like a lot of people were saying on the internet. But after going into the class, my perception of that changed a lot as well, too.
Hearing your initial thoughts on public speaking, Jason, what 3 words would you then use to describe your perception of a public speaking class before you actually took it?
Prior to actually taking it, I'd say 3 words would be straightforward, simple, and easy.
Who did you go to find out about it?
I had a couple of friends who already had taken public speaking, and all of them basically said that you didn't really have to put in that much work to get an A. There's also Rutgers Reddit, which is like a forum page where everybody can put their inputs on certain classes, certain teachers, etc. And I took it upon myself to look there, and public speaking was known to be a pretty easy class as well.
Did that perception change while taking the class?
It definitely changed while taking the class. There were 3 main speeches that we had to give. After the very first one, I already knew that my perception changed a lot. I didn't do too hot on the first speech, but definitely made a steady improvement throughout the semester.
And just so that everyone in our listening audience knows, you were in the class, you were one of my students, I was your professor. So when we talk about the interaction and the class and the grading, we're actually talking about you and me and other students who were in the class together. What would you say is one of those things, those skills that you knew, all right, I need to pay more attention to this to be able to produce a better speech?
One general one that a lot of people struggle with is using filler words and kind of just saying and taking a lot of time to think about what they're going to say during the speech. And one thing that I took away from that was just to take like your own pauses, take like a short 2-second, 3-second pause where you don't say anything, recollect your thoughts, and then you can just dive right back into your speech.
In addition to certain skills like filler words, did you notice any changes in your mindset?
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the biggest things. Like when even other people were talking around me, I was getting really conscious of the things that they were saying, like how they were presenting themselves, the way that they were saying things. I started noticing a lot more things and being a lot more conscious of the things that they were saying too. The class kind of changed my perception of public speaking as a whole.
How do you feel about those revelations you were having?
It was kind of weird at first, noticing everything that people are saying around you. But that's what we're so trained to do in our class. You're trained to pay attention to every single little detail that you yourself are saying and whoever's presenting is also saying.
I'm having a very proud professor moment to hear you speak this way right now. Now that I hear you say this, having this level of awareness that maybe is a little bit uneasy at first is one of the greatest indicators of true change. So to me, when I hear you say that, I actually feel very excited about the process that we are conducting in class. Very happy to hear that it has had this level of impact for you, Jason. So thank you for sharing that. What has changed in you from the beginning of the class to now?
Prior to going into public speaking, I never really saw it as such an extensive process, as I said. Now coming out of it, I definitely see it as a much more extensive process. It's not just one thing where you can just practice over and over again. There's a lot of preparation that needs to be made for each individual speech that a public speaker might present to their audience.
I definitely agree with you that it is a process, and in fact, it's a process that doesn't end. We never hit a perfect goal. We never hit a max. It's just something we continue to develop, continue to grow in, which is really the exciting thing about public speaking to me, that there really is an art to it, and there really are no limitations to it also, because your audience is different from time to time. Your message is different. You are different. When you think back then, do you have any regrets about the process in the class, or any aspect of it? Is there a regret that you have?
Not really any regrets that I can think of. I definitely saw myself making steady progress throughout the class as a public speaker.
And I'm really glad to hear that your answer is no. I don't have any regrets, because as your professor, one thing I always took note about you is you communicating with me consistently throughout the semester, taking note of the feedback that I gave you, of your own self-reflection, and the feedback from your peers, and wanting to learn from it and make a better speech. If you can connect the things you were
Hmm.
sharing about yourself, your perceptions changing throughout the class, and thinking about this speech, what were some of those essential skills that you built to be able to deliver that last speech in a way that pre-course Jason would have been completely clueless about?
There were definitely a lot of skills that I incorporated into the final speech, but two main ones that I definitely felt like I had to focus on to make a drastic improvement from the previous speech was audience engagement and correctly and powerfully using outside resources. For the audience engagement, one thing that I did was I started off my speech with a very emotional story for myself. And I felt that this would definitely connect and reside with some of the audience members as well. I also ended the speech with this story. So you would be able to see how it would come full circle for the story as well, too. And the second one being using supporting material. I definitely had to do the most research for this speech compared to all the other speeches.
And there are always so many skills that go into even a 2-minute speech. For you, two of the most powerful tools that you used to improve in your speaking then were audience engagement, talking directly to an audience, whether that is people who are with you live in the same room or people who are with you watching virtually in an audience, as well as bringing in strong, credible sources of information to enhance your speech. How would you say that we could establish common ground with our audience who'll be listening to this message, the message we are filming right now?
I feel like one pretty easy way would be they definitely can post like comments on the comment section. So for future videos and such, you'd be able to know what kind of content they're looking for.
And that's an interesting engagement that only happens in an asynchronous environment, because in a classroom, that's typically not the way it would work. People don't then chime in with typed comments. For everyone that's listening to this message, I think another area of common ground is that we're all interested in becoming better communicators. We're all interested in developing our speaking skills. So that is our established common ground. Anybody who's listening to this cares about public speaking, particularly at the college level. One of the most important missions in my life is to help people be better educators by investing in this next generation of leaders, by investing in people like you, Jason, who care, who are committed, who put in the work, even though you were expecting an easy, simple, perhaps even you were expecting an easy A. What 3 words would you now describe the class as for other people who are interested in taking this class?
Rewarding, complex, and progressive.
Wow. Those are fantastic words. I think rewarding stands out the most to me. When we put in a lot of effort and hard work into things, we feel the reward of that investment. Now, let's sum this up for our audience. At the end of the day, what is your message to the audience today in one sentence?
Public speaking isn't just one skill, it's a lot of different skills put together. All of those skills that you put in and you learn also can be applicable to so many other different avenues and fields.
If you had to put your entire message in a t-shirt, Jay, so you only have so much room, what does your t-shirt say?
I'd probably just use the 3 words that I used earlier. Probably have public speaking like big and bold. And then I have like 3 bullet points below it, which would say like rewarding, progressive, complex.
As I asked this question, I'm like, I should start designing some t-shirts.
Yeah.
What is a skill in public speaking that you're still working on, something that you're still developing in yourself?
I'm known to be a pretty monotone person. I struggle with this so much because it's just such a big habit for me. in like a professional setting, in a meeting, taking a test in the classroom, it's kind of like this switch flips on, and I just become like a completely serious professional person. That's kind of who I was during the speeches, and that was really hard habit for me to break.
Which is completely understandable. It's as if a lot of us will have separate versions of ourselves, and in many ways that's healthy. One of the messages that I spoke about with you throughout it is that we as people in an audience, in a class, we connect with the human elements of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and in each other. Those are the things that make us truly feel part of a conversation, is when we can see the human that's speaking. So thank you for pointing that out. I know that that's not an easy subject to bring up, but I'm glad to hear that that's something that comes to mind for you, that, you know, it's a skill you're working on. And
Yeah.
now on the other side of that coin, I want to ask you, what's a skill that you're really proud of in yourself?
I feel like my preparation in my speeches definitely improved a lot. In my final speech, you were able to see like all of the effort that was put into just the formatting, like how content was delivered in a certain order to make the audience feel a certain type of way. And I feel like that's really important for audience engagement.
And I agree with you. The truth and the genuineness of an experience, and how that's valuable to an audience by sharing how it was valuable to you, and making all of those things connect, which I think makes public speaking so unbelievably powerful. If you could go back in time, you have 15 seconds to talk to your 18-year-old self. What do you say?
Probably tell them to invest in Tesla back then and hold it until now.
Okay, so you would make it about financial investing.
Yeah.
Self-care is something that's very important to me. We're starting to talk about it more as a society, but I still think we're very often not taking good care of ourselves. What is the most recent thing that you did for yourself to take good care of yourself?
Actually, like this morning, I had mangoes for breakfast. I don't know. I'm not really the kind of person that usually has fruits for breakfast thing. I usually have like maybe some toast with like butter, toast with like cream cheese. I feel like mangoes were a pretty healthy alternative.
What's something that you did for yourself recently that was just for fun?
Still with precaution, still with like mask, everything. But I've been going out to see a lot of my friends a lot more now.
I'm glad that you've had a chance to enjoy time with your friends again. It's been a difficult time period for all of us, for sure. Is there anything you want to say that I haven't asked you?
I don't want people to get like this connotation that this class is super hard, because it definitely is labor intensive. It's more work than I initially thought it was going to be, but it's very rewarding at the same time. Like what you put into the class would be what you get out of the class.
And I really appreciate you saying that, because it's difficult in many ways, but it's not impossible. It's definitely going to take a strong commitment to want to improve, and then also putting in the preparation work, because there's an entire writing process that goes into a speech, and a rehearsal process, and a refinement process, and then the delivery, and then the reflection. There's so much that goes into building these skills. I agree with you that it can be very rewarding, but I'm happy that you want to remind people considering this course that it's not impossible, and that there's a great deal of value in it. Speaking skills matter in every aspect of your life, not just in a class when it's time for you to get up and deliver a message for a few minutes.
The initial reason why I took this class was I'm a business major. So my initial thought was every single person entering the business world should be able to present whatever it may be, present themselves, present a certain product. And that's initially why I took the class too. So
why do you think that every person in business needs to be able to present themselves well?
a lot of opportunities that you may have amounts to how you carry yourself.
That is the power of public speaking, is that it helps you accomplish the things that you want to do with your life, with your career, with your relationships, whether that's you're going to be selling a product, or selling an idea, or selling a service. I thank you for being a wonderful student in the class, Jason, that was committed summarizing what I heard you say today is that we're all works in progress, number one, right? There's that progressive element, but we're all works in progress. There's some things that you're still working on. There are things that I'm still working on, but it's an extremely rewarding experience to put in the effort into developing this complex strategy. Thank you so much for being willing to spend this time with me today. And I want to
No
wish you,
problem.
I want to wish you the best in these next 2 years as you finish up your schooling at the university. And I look forward to seeing where the business world takes you.
Thank you. Thank you.